We are live on YouTube. Sorry, just making an announcement. Want everybody to be in the know.
That's what you did.
I would like to call the July 23rd, 2025 City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Carey,
Present.
Chilson,
Present.
Hutchings,
Here.
Nelson,
Present.
Parker, Wackler. Present. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda? Mr. Carey.
Mayor, I move the adoption of the agenda and the consent agenda as presented to us.
May I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Hutchings. Are there any changes to the agenda or consent agenda? Seeing none, would the clerk please read the consent agenda?
July 9, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Resolution 2025-029 ratifying the collective bargaining agreement with the Public Safety Employees Association for a term ending June 30th, 2028. Sponsored by the city manager. Action Memorandum 2025-013, approval of ballot proposition summary for the 2025 election, sponsored by the city clerk. That is your consent agenda.
Are there any public comments on any of the items just read by the clerk? Seeing no one here in the audience, we'll take a look at Zoom and there's no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the approval of the agenda consent agenda is back before the council. Any objections to approving the agenda and consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda and consent agenda are approved by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take a look at Zoom and there's no hands raised there. Next item on the agenda is Assembly and Legislative Report. Are there any representatives from the borough and or the state legislature that would like to address the council? Seeing no one here in the chambers and no hands raised, we'll move on to the next agenda item, public hearings, Ordinance 2025-020, amending Soldotna Municipal Code Titles 2, 9, 13, and 17 regarding quasi-judicial appeal procedures introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we enact ordinance 2025-020.
I'll second. Please. Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am going to defer to the city clerk who wrote this ordinance.
Thank you. Through the mayor. Essentially, this is items that were missed the first time around, which typically happens when you do a pretty large rewrite like that. And so in the sectional analysis, we broke down some of the areas that were missed. And I didn't know she was going to defer that to me, so I wasn't quite prepared. But basically, it's we updated the Title II, which talks about hearing ordinance or hearing officers and what sections of the code they have jurisdiction over. 9 is, do you have it in front of you?
Is procedure upon finding a violation and code with the code enforcement officer.
Yeah, so there's code enforcement, and they're just very random ones that have probably never come to council, probably never would come to council. But we just wanted to make sure that everything had the same process, that it goes to the city manager first. And then if somebody has an issue with her decision, then it goes to the hearing officer, and the council is no longer having to deal with these types of quasi-judicial issues. So it was just cleanup language, and I'm available to hopefully answer additional questions.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on ordinance 2025-020? Seeing and hearing no one here in the audience, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there's no hands raised there. Having no one who wishes to speak on this item is back before the council. Any council comments? Seeing and hearing none, are there any objections to approving ordinance 2025-020? Seeing and hearing none, ordinance 2025-020 is approved by, enacted by unanimous consent. Next item, ordinance 2025-021, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, section 2.28.170, reimbursable expenses. May I have a motion to enact? Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the adoption of ordinance 2025-021, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, section 2.28.170, reimbursable expenses.
May I have a second, please? Thank you, Vice Mayor Parker. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This this ordinance, it comes before you to, in essence, increase the per diem rate to $75 per day. This came about with discussions during the CBA, during the union contract, and speaking with the union itself, the union members themselves, that they had requested a GSA rate for Alaska. A GSA rate does not exist in Alaska. If you go on the GSA website, it states there's not a GSA rate for Alaska or Hawaii. There's a link that you can use to DOD, but DOD's is very complicated and much more complicated than what we need to do. Recognizing that our rate is a little lower, especially as costs have gone up, as we all know. Here in Alaska, it's been increased to 75 per day. It's also another amendment is changing the fractional time frame. Previously, the time frame for a what we call dinner time frame was 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Excuse me, that would be the breakfast time frame went from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. It's been amended to 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. Honestly, no one has ever requested the breakfast from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., so we're just cleaning that up. And then also an amendment to clarify the non-reimbursable expenses.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, ordinance 2025-021? Seeing and hearing no one here in the audience, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there's no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Are there any objections or concerns about adopting ordinance 2025-021? Seeing and hearing none, ordinance 2025-021 is adopted by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 2025-022, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $5,000 in the general fund to appropriate funds to influence the outcome of an election, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
I make a motion to enact ordinance 2025-022, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $5,000 in the general fund to appropriate funds to influence the outcome of an election.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Schulson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance comes before you as more of an abundance of caution. State statute provides municipalities to provide information without having to appropriate funds if it's neutral information. My concern is, and we plan on putting out neutral information. Our team met and we're going through the petition and the questions that were raised before. We'll have an FAQ that you will receive as well. We'll distribute, and it's going to be a public document, and we'll distribute to you. We believe that it will be neutral. However, some people may interpret it as not being neutral. So if we appropriate funds and then file with APOC, we are in a safe zone, I would say. So we do a plan to appropriate the 5,000. There are always questions about the language to influence the outcome of an election. That language is used specifically because it is state statute language. Maybe someday that language will change its state statute, but that's why that language was used. So in essence, it's being done as out of caution to make sure that we are not, because we could be fined by APOC if the language was deemed not neutral without filing.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2025-022? Seeing and hearing no one here in the council chambers, I'll take a look at Zoom and there's no hands raised there. Having no one else wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Are there any objections to enacting ordinance 2025-022? Seeing and hearing none, ordinance 2025-022 is adopted by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is new business, and that was all covered under the consent agenda. Next item, mayor and council reports, mayor's reports and proclamation. A beautiful day, been a beautiful week, and hope everyone's had the opportunity to enjoy this good weather. Hopefully it'll last for a long time, but having lived here long enough, we all know that's not going to happen. So that is all I have for tonight. Next one, council report on boards and commissions. July 10th, 2025, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. Mr. Chilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a number of items that were put forward on the agenda for the evening's meeting. First and foremost was a presentation on the Memorial Park signage project and update on that. So currently the Parks Department has been working on building out better signage that's styled similarly to our gateway signs throughout the boundaries of the city that would be put throughout the Memorial Park with built-in benches, QR codes, interactive maps of plots in the park. It's pretty cool stuff that's happening there, and I think it's going to be very helpful. Additionally, their team has been working on a revamp to the special event guide to Soldotna Creek Park. This is essentially a booklet that they can hand out to anyone interested in hosting events there. Some pretty in-depth overhaul on that. Hopefully it will make things easier for people that want to run events. Additional things going on at the Parks Department this year. This is the first year that the city has run heaters in their greenhouses to do their own starts rather than ordering them this year. And the outcome of that has been fantastic. They have a tremendous amount of flowers that they've been putting out this spring all throughout the city. And I think it is very evident when you look around. I love the flowers in City Hall this year. It's particularly great. They hired a new field house coordinator, and they feel that this person has a very strong background in sports and looks extremely promising for that role. So we're hopefully be opening with a strong foot forward on that. And then speaking of the field house, they're gearing up for the grand opening ceremonies that are coming up here in our near future. They have all of the inside sporting equipment on order. Some of it has been delivered. Others are being held up and may not be here in time for the opening, but should hopefully follow shortly thereafter. They've actually already booked the first big events for the field house, including the Kenai River Classic and the Soup Supper for the food bank. So that's exciting to have that coming up. And additionally, we're drawing interest from the community in establishing new programs that we haven't had before, like a new flag football program, which is getting a lot of momentum for potentially operating out of the field house. They have had a couple staff leave this year. So the crew has been operating a little thin this season, but they're trying to make by, but it's definitely been straining for their team from what I've gathered. Additional items, the refrigeration study has been finalized. And I believe that we will be getting more on that as a council here in the near future. And then lastly, they are moving forward with a 2-inch water hookup for the K Beach main to the Rodeo and Little League fields in collaboration with the City Utilities Department and other staff. They've got really creative and were able to come up with a solution for that, which will hopefully solve the water needs for both organizations out there in perpetuity. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Chilson? Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. You mentioned about at the Memorial Park benches. Is there going to be a bench over at the Columbarium?
I don't recall specific locations. I just know that they're actually a really interesting design where it was like a sign, built-in bench, and QR code interactive directory in one. And I think there are going to be multiple ones throughout the park. I can't remember if there's one by the Columbarium. I think there is.
There is a
Different.
bench. There is a bench there at the Columbarium.
Okay.
There is a bench, and then they also added an additional one on the other
Okay.
side.
So we got it on both sides, because
Perfect.
where I am, there wasn't one.
Hopefully a long time away.
My name's up there already, but anything else? Okay, next report is July 21st, 2025 Library Advisory Board meeting. Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Library Advisory Board is always a wonderful thing to attend and to listen to. Library is doing wonderful. As was mentioned by Mr. Chilson, outside the library, just the physical grounds are just beautiful, and it's very nice. And I particularly the signs they have about facts about pollination. Again, the library also has signs at Parker Park where you can read a book while you walk. And so the idea that there are many different ways in which we can take in information and promoting that. There were wonderful, good reports that were covered at the meeting. Different policies are just being done. One of the things, there have been actually fewer programs presented in the last quarter, but higher attendance than ever before. And so again, it would seem to be that would say that they're doing particularly what the people want to watch and want to come and see. At the same time, they're always aware that there are things of interest that it might be, excuse me, a relatively small amount of people are interested, but you still want to do those things as well. Overall, the library is doing a great job and the meeting was very well done. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Curry? Do you know how the hot dog day went over there? I think that was Friday or Saturday.
You can have a report on that.
Yep.
It was very well attended, and it is something that will be done again.
I would have gone, but I think I'm going to see enough hot dogs this Saturday. And every time I walk in the library, it costs me more books. I walked out of there with 11 of them the last time I was in there. Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a lot to report on. It sounds like Councilmember Chilson covered a lot of what's going on right now. Parks and Rec, definitely very, very busy and yeah, very, very busy and enjoying this great weather, as well enjoying all of the people in town. Reminder of progress days this Saturday, the barbecue at the park, and I imagine that it will be a very busy weekend and very enjoyable weekend. That's all I have this evening.
Any questions for the city manager? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any item? Seeing and hearing none here in the audience, I'll look at Zoom and we have no hands raised there. Next, the council comments. Seeing that we missed you last meeting, we'll go with you first tonight, Ms. Wackler.
Speaking of, sorry to not interject, that I could give a brief report on the planning and zoning. I didn't jump in at that time. So the planning and zoning meeting on July 2nd, most of the discussion that happened was surrounding a conditional use permit for a recreational lodge going in on Rald Avenue. A lot of the time was spent discussing whether or not to require a fish cleaning station be put in. But then transversely, they said, well, the lodge may not want to have a fish cleaning station, and whether we want to require that a place has a fish cleaning station to properly dispose of, or what if they don't want to have one and they decided to postpone action on that until they could get information from the developer and the owner themselves before they release that. So it's kind of an interesting discussion, kind of the back and forth about whether we want to make that a rule or even go into deciding on requiring fish disposal. Yeah, so we're holding off on that, but it might be interesting to see if they put a conditional use permit contingent to requiring a fish cleaning and disposal. That it was kind of just an interesting thing, and I want to, being that we're in Soldotna, if we start doing that, I don't know. But that was my report on what we did at planning and zoning. And I don't have a report. Let's get out into the sun for any other comments.
Thank you. Ms. Hutchings.
Well, I have no comments because it's a beautiful evening and I think everybody wants to get out of here.
I'll second that one. Mr. Carey.
Whenever you have a difficulty, particularly with the vehicle, it's really nice to have local people that can take care of things very well. And I won't mention Hutchings by name, but again, when I have difficulty with my vehicle and had to bring it in right away, they took care of things so wonderfully. And it's just wonderful that we have so many good people that work in our community and so many different ways to keep us all moving safely. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson.
No comments tonight.
Mr. Chilson,
Looking forward to seeing you all at Progress Days this Saturday.
Vice Mayor Parker.
No comment.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda is executive session, and there's no reason for one. Next one, pending legislation. We have Ordinance 2025-015 and Ordinance 2025-017. Those will come up shortly, next month, or no, excuse me, work session on those. Meeting announcements, August 6th, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, 5:30 PM. The August 13th City Council meeting is canceled. August 27th, City Work Session at 4 PM. And August 27th, City Council meeting at 6 PM. And Saturday, July 26th is Community Hot Dog Barbecue from noon to 4 PM or while supplies last at the block party at Parker Park. And we have 1,000 hot dogs this year. Ms. Hutchings.
You know, there is one comment, and I don't know if Dave mentioned it, but we have a bake sale at the library on Saturday. Yes. Yeah. And my sister's making cookies.
And actually, I think they have a book sale day there also. Yep. Next item, I voted sticker design contest winners will be announced at the block party around 1 o'clock on Saturday, July 26th. And then the candidate filings for public office begins on August 1st and ends on August 15th at 4:30 PM. Filing packets are available online and in the lobby at City Hall. And having no further items on our agenda, we are adjourned.